Hi everyone. In this lesson, we'll delve into an essential concept in machine learning, dimensionality reduction, and its most popular method, principal component analysis. Let's start. Unsupervised learning aims to discover the structure of data without labeled data. In the ever-growing field of data science, while this learning approach saves humans from the difficult task of labeling datasets that have hundreds or even thousands of features, it brings some challenges. The first one is curse of dimensionality. As the number of features increases, the volume of the feature space increases exponentially. This means that data points become sparse, making it difficult for algorithms to find patterns. High-dimensional data can lead to overfitting, where the model learns noise instead of the underlying patterns. The second, computational efficiency. More features require more computational resources. Reducing the number of features can significantly speed up the training and inference processes. The third, noise reduction. Not all features in a dataset are informative. Some may add noise, leading to poorer model performance. Dimensionality reduction helps in identifying and removing these irrelevant features. The fourth, improved visualization. With fewer dimensions, we can visualize data more effectively. For example, reducing data to 2D or 3D allows us to plot and visually inspect it. Let's review some past approaches to address these challenges. Consider, for instance, a two-dimensional image used in a face recognition application or a one-dimensional time series, like an ECG signal recorded for heart disease diagnosis. Both types of data involve a large number of features. Early effective approaches for reducing dimensionality and extracting meaningful information from such data included feature selection and feature extraction. However, the PCA method, which is more popular, offers several advantages over these approaches. Firstly, unlike feature extraction and feature selection methods, PCA does not require expert knowledge or brute force scanning, making it more accessible and less reliant on domain-specific insights. Second, PCA is a versatile dimensionality reduction method that can be applied to various data types and problems compared to feature extraction methods. PCA is simpler and faster. Especially with large datasets, PCA is often preferred over more complex extraction techniques due to its speed and ease of interpretation. Moreover, PCA excels at analyzing linear relationships within data and reconfiguring these relationships to explain the maximum variance. This ability to maximize variance is crucial for improving model performance and preventing overfitting. In contrast, feature selection methods do not offer such guarantees. The selected features might not fully capture the overall structure of the data. Another key advantage of PCA is its ability to create new components by combining existing features, independent of whether the original features are directly important. Feature selection methods, by contrast, are limited to choosing the best among the existing features. PCA identifies the most informative components in the dataset and reconstructs the data along these new axes. Additionally, PCA not only reduces the dimensionality of the data but also decreases noise and insignificant variance, thereby minimizing the loss of meaningful information. This makes PCA particularly effective in data cleaning and compression tasks, where its performance is notably high. Principal component analysis is a technique used to reduce the number of dimensions in a dataset, while preserving as much variability as possible. In simpler terms, it transforms a large set of variables into a smaller set of variables, called principal components, which are linear combinations of the original variables. The working steps of PCA can be summarized as follows. The first step in PCA is to standardize the dataset, i.e., scale the data so that each feature contributes equally to the analysis. Next, PCA calculates the covariance matrix of the standardized data. The covariance matrix captures the pairwise covariances between the features, indicating how they vary together. Then, the eigenvectors and eigenvalues of the covariance matrix are computed. The eigenvectors represent the directions of maximum variance, and the eigenvalues indicate the magnitude of the variance in these directions. After computing, the eigenvectors are sorted by their corresponding eigenvalues in descending order and selected. Finally, the original data is projected onto the space defined. This results in a reduced dataset that retains the most significant variance. Let's briefly discuss the computational steps of PCA alongside the equations provided. The first step is data standardization. Standardized data is commonly used to reduce the impact of different scales within the data. This is not unique to PCA. Standardization transforms each feature so that it has a mean of 0 and a variance of 1. Here, x represents the data, mu the mean, and sigma the standard deviation. The second step is covariance matrix calculation. From the standardized data obtained in the previous step, a covariance matrix is calculated. The covariance matrix, which is symmetric, captures the linear relationships between the data. Here, C represents the covariance matrix. The third step is eigenvectors and eigenvalues calculation. The eigenvectors of the covariance matrix and their corresponding eigenvalues are calculated. Eigenvectors represent the directions that capture the most variance in the data, while eigenvalues indicate the magnitude of variance along these directions. Here, V represents the eigenvector, and lambda represents the eigenvalue. The fourth step is sorting the eigenvectors. The eigenvectors are sorted in descending order based on their corresponding eigenvalues. The largest eigenvalue represents the direction with the most variance in the data, and the corresponding eigenvector is the first principal component. Here, K represents the number of dimensions to be retained, and V represents the top K eigenvectors with the highest variance. The fifth step is projection of data into the new space. When the eigenvectors, represented by V, are multiplied by the standardized data, the data is projected onto the new components, or in other words, mapped to a new space. Here, Y represents the new data obtained after projection. You can see a rotation video on the screen showing the distribution of a three-dimensional data in space. By moving the video forward and backward, examine the data axes that have shifted with certain angles and translations relative to the x, y, and z axes of the space. The true axes of the space are drawn in black, while the axes on the data are shown in red, green, and blue. If you pay attention, the axis with the greatest variance in the data is not one of the space's own axes but rather the axis shown in red on the data. Likewise, the axis with the least variance is shown in blue. Thus, the PCA method should first map the data to its own axis and then, in this new space, eliminate the axes with the smallest variance. In other words, the features with the least variation. The original form of the data shown in 3 dimensions is presented in the figure on the left, while the standardized and eigenvector mapped version of the data is shown in the middle figure. The distributions of the data along the axes in both of these figures are illustrated in the figure on the right. In the right figure, the top 3 axes represent the original space axes of the data. Left figure, while the bottom 3 axes represent the mapped space axes. Middle figure. Notably, among these 6 axes, the axis with the greatest distribution and, therefore, the largest variance, is the PC1 axis shown in red in the mapped space. Conversely, the lowest distribution occurs along the PC3 axis, represented in blue. Here, different options for dimensionality reduction are shown. In the middle figure, the two axes with the highest variance are selected, while in the figure on the right, only the axis with the highest variance is chosen. Accordingly, the three-dimensional data is reduced to 2 dimensions in the middle figure and to 1 dimension. In the figure on the right, the PCA method was developed by Karl Pearson in 1901. Pearson introduced PCA to identify the linear components that best explain the variance in datasets. Today, it remains a widely used technique and is considered a significant contribution of Pearson to the fields of statistics and data analysis. The high reputation of an algorithm necessitates a closer examination of its details. Let's begin by exploring its benefits. 1. Reduces complexity. By lowering the number of dimensions, PCA simplifies models and makes them more interpretable. 2. Enhances performance. Reducing the dimensionality can improve the performance of machine learning algorithms by mitigating overfitting and reducing computational costs. 3. Reveals patterns. PCA helps uncover hidden patterns and relationships in the data that may not be obvious in the original high-dimensional space. PCA, such a useful, powerful and popular method, also has some disadvantages. Knowing these disadvantages is important for understanding the challenges associated with PCA and for making informed decisions. This awareness allows you to leverage the strengths of PCA while being mindful of its limitations. Here are a few of the key drawbacks. The first one is linear assumption. PCA only captures linear relationships in the data. If the data contains nonlinear relationships, PCA may fail to detect them, leading to information loss. The second one is interpretability of features. PCA creates new components by combining original features through linear combinations. These components often lack meaningful physical or business context, making them difficult to interpret. The third one is data scaling requirement. If PCA is applied without proper standardization, features with high variance may dominate, while those with low variance might be overlooked. Thus, appropriate scaling of the data is essential. The fourth one is information loss. PCA reduces the dimensionality of the data, which can lead to some loss of information. This loss can be significant, especially in cases where the data is complex or highly dimensional. The fifth one is sensitivity. PCA is sensitive to noise and outliers. Noise or outliers can affect the direction and variance of the components, potentially distorting the results. Thanks for watching. We recommend that you attend class for in-class activities.